Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Developer Dynasty here on our Wolverine Studios Twitch channel. Very excited to be back with you guys after a couple of weeks off. We had a lot going on getting Drafty Sports Pro Basketball 2022 into the final stages so it could head into first access. And, just a lot going on, so we weren't able to do any streams the last few weeks, but we're back with one now that we are in first access, and really excited to talk about some of the new things that are in this year's game and some of the changes that we're still working on going through first access. If you aren't aware of what first access is, it's basically an opportunity for anyone to pre-order the game. When you pre-order the game, you can get a discount on our website. And you also get a complimentary Steam key when the game is released. So if you'd rather play on Steam, you can still pre-order from us, and then you'll get your Steam key later on. And you also get to download the latest versions of the beta, which we've had two builds released. I have another build ready to go, which will be released not too long after the stream ends tonight. And we're going to talk about some of the things that are coming to that build, as well as some other things that are new, and give people kind of an understanding of what we're working on here. So, and just, if you're interested in First Access, the only place you can pre-order is from WolverineStudios.com. Like I said, the game will be available on Steam in a couple of weeks, and the full release will be in a couple of weeks as well. About 2 weeks left to go, probably during our first access period here. So if you're looking to get in and get those pre-order savings and stuff like that, do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait till the last minute. Pre-order right now at WolverineStudios.com, and you can download the latest beta. And like I said, version 11.0.2 beta will be released probably within 30 minutes to an hour after the stream is finished. So I've got a league built up here, and one of the things I want to go over is a new feature to the game this year, which is the revamp of the scouting for college players. So you are reminded here by this alert that today is the final day you can assign your scouting points. So you have to make these decisions before the first day of the season's games are played. But now, rather than breaking it up into as we did last year, certain points for certain regions of the world and stuff like that, we've changed it around so that the scouting points are based on things you can understand what they're doing, and I think it's making it a lot better in this version, and it gives you some different options. So there's 5 choices for both U.S. and international regions: the quick ranking, the scouting report, the play style, basic ratings, and the deep dive. Down here, it gives you a description of what everything does. So the quick ranking is going to give you just a 1 to 5 star ranking. So that only costs you 25 of your scouting staff points. It's not very expensive. And you will get, when you get to the workout stage, you'll be able to, prior to the draft, see the 1 to 5 star ranking for everybody. The scouting report gives you a short description of the player, which has a written description for you to glean different bits of information from about the player. The play style will give you the charts that break down, what he likes to do with the ball. Is he a driver, a shooter, mostly a passer, and where he plays on the floor most of the time, so you know if he's a heavy inside or outside guy, so you can find players to fit your system. The basic ratings is going to give you an A through F rating in scoring, rebounding, passing, ball handling, things like that. And then the deep dive, the scouts provide notification for under or overrated players. So what you'll see if you do this is on the rookie player cards prior to the draft, there will be a notification like in the header that says overrated or underrated, and give you something that is kind of like a hint that maybe this player will perform better than his ratings, or maybe this player is overrated and will not live up to his ratings. So the deep dive is expensive, and obviously, with my team situation here, you can't afford to do that if you're going to afford to do these. But the great thing about this system is that it gives you, the chance to, kind of rework these things the way you want them. So, if I really wanted to do the deep dive, I can take off, other things that I don't want to do or aren't that important to me, and then I can assign my points in a different manner. So I can use them for whatever I think will be uh, most useful. And just real quick, I see guys in the chat, GM Games Chris and Jeannie. Thanks guys for stopping by and being part of the stream tonight. Appreciate the well wishes. Anyways, back to the scouting staff points here. When you go to do the workouts, you'll still get information from the the 20 players or so that you choose to work out. So if you really only care about the guys you're bringing in for a workout, maybe you don't do the basic ratings and you spend your points on these things to get this information for all of the players, and then the 20 that you think you might draft, maybe you bring those guys in for the workout and you get the basic ratings from those players from the workout. So you won't get them for the whole pool, but you can get them from the workouts. It's just another option to kind of make things better for you when it comes time to draft, so that you can have the information you want. Maybe you don't care what the scout rates the players as 1 to 5 stars, because you're going to get the Wolverine Studios Sports Network 1 to 5 star ranking, and then the players you work out, your coaches will give you a 1 to 5 star ranking. So maybe you don't want a third version of that, so you save the 25 points there and do something else with them. It's just a lot of different options for you to to be able to do what you want with. One of the other big new features of the game this year is the change that we made to the personality types. So we brought this personality type system in, which rather than having so many different, like the players in the past, they all have different, they all have different items for loyalty, motivation, consistency, greed, winning, durability, work ethic, and playing time. And in the past, all those were randomized. So what we've done now is we've created these 23, I think it is, different personality types, and we've spread them out in different. It's not evenly spread between players because some are really more volatile than others, so there's fewer of some. But they cover the entire league. They cover the coaches and the general managers. And this is the new system that bases the interactions between the players and the players and the coaches. Everything is based on this new personality type system. And so one thing that that people have asked are, what does each type do? And so far we haven't put out any sort of document or anything that talks about each one in particular, because I want people to be able to have some discovery playing the game, and I think that discovering the different personality types and how they interact with each other is going to be a really fun part of the game this year. You'll find that each personality type typically has a range for each of these things as to how important they are for them. So you can see that in some guys, their motivation is higher, their consistency is a certain level because of their personality type, and there's different names for each one of them, and the name should invoke kind of like what you would imagine somebody who has that tag of a personality would be. So Jonathan Monroe here, he has the personality type of a planner. So you would think of somebody who is highly motivated. He's organized. He likes order. He's not going to do well with a teammate or a coach who has a personality that is very chaotic and very stressful and very disorganized. Um, I'm not even going to pronounce this guy's name, but his personality type is an artist. So he has a lower consistency rating. Um, he has, qualities that would be um, less organized, more, free thinking, more spontaneous, um, not so orderly. It's just, creative, stuff like that. So each of these personality types will play off of each other, especially when things are going bad or well, because the ones that mesh well together will continue to make each other happy and make it a good environment within the team, and the ones that clash with each other will continue to work against each other when there's problems. I want to fire up a couple of days of simming here, and then I'm going to go to the chat and answer some questions there. I put my team on auto manage so that it can handle all the roster moves and depth chart stuff. Why we sim? GM Games Chris asks a question we couldn't figure out in our league. What is popularity impact? Thanks. It's for the college product. In the college game, it's not terribly important, but it was something that would have transferred over to the pro game for the players, and then it was used in like determining attendance and stuff like that at the pro games. We might have even done attendance at the college games at one point in time. I don't remember, but it was just kind of like a something like that the fans like this player and they would come and see him. So it's really more based in the pro side. Breeze, hello, what did I miss so far? Breeze, we've been talking about the scouting points and we've been talking about the new personality types here. The sim screen here, as you can see, has been updated with some nicer colors and kind of more modern presentation for the game leaders here. And all these little toasts, as they're called, that pop up here, give you a lot of insight to how your team is doing, to things that are happening in the league. There's a triple double, so you get notified about triple doubles. You'll get notifications about players that have hit certain milestones during the year. You'll get injury notifications. You can see a notification at the top there that there was a team incident that I would have handled had I had it on the Stop Sim and Action email. And when you handle those team incidents, the personalities come into play there between the coach and the player, because then they start if they don't get along, a negative response from the general manager or a coach or whatever could really set the player off, because they don't they already have friction, whereas if they get along well, maybe a negative response doesn't have such a bad effect. So the personality stuff is really, really important. Of course, if you don't want to deal with the personality stuff, there is an option to turn that off when you set up your league, but otherwise you're going to want to leave that on, and then really take part in that and get used to what they're doing together there. One thing that was added this year was the game chart, and I think something was wrong when I loaded the box score here, because the game chart's not loading, and neither are these charts. But the game chart will give you a kind of a flow through the game. Let's see if I can get one loaded up here. So for the games you simulate, again, you can see all the stats and stuff like that and the score by quarters, but this this added chart here gives you an opportunity to see that this game really wasn't very close. My team won this game pretty handily, and you can see even where you know the game really pulled away here in the third quarter, as we had a 32-point lead at that point. So it's another tool that you can use. And that was the biggest lead of the game there. Another tool you can use right on the box score screen that's new to the game this year. One thing that I think has been, a nice addition, a nice change through First Access here is the depth chart. And, this is why First Access is so important, because before the game is finished, officially, we're getting feedback from people through our forums about things they'd like to see tweaked and stuff like that. And one suggestion was here on the depth chart that the team should stagger their minutes more. And after, doing some research about, kind of what teams' lineups are and how they're using them, I was able to make some changes that do a better job for most teams in staggering the lineups, as opposed to having holes where there's, maybe a 4 or 6 minute gap where, it's like an all bench lineup. Now, there's still some teams in the league that will do that, because it does happen in the NBA. We were researching things, and we saw that Golden State, seemed to have, a high propensity for, playing mostly bench or even an all bench lineup for, certain periods of the game. So some teams will still react in that way. Others, like, my depth chart here, this is handled by the AI. It spreads out the minutes here between the point guard and the shooting guard, in these last 4 minutes of the first quarter and the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. So it's staggering them. It's giving me, 3 starters here in this spot. I've got, one starter to start the second quarter, but then we've got another one who comes back in, and then we've got, mostly starters to finish the quarter. Same thing happens here in the end of the third, start of the fourth, before it comes back with all starters. Is, we've got our starters, we've at least got, one, if not 2 or 3 starters on the floor at all times. So, the AI has gotten better at this now in this year's version of the game, and I think that's a nice improvement. And it was really driven by just feedback from people playing the beta, coming to the forums and saying, hey, this doesn't feel quite right. I think that the example used on the forums was in their league, their Phoenix team. They were referencing how Phoenix will tend to stagger Paul and Booker so that one of them's on the floor. And they were seeing a lot of lineups in their games where their point guard and shooting guard weren't being staggered like that. So, we went back and we made some changes based on that. And I think that the AI is doing a really nice job with that in particular. Another change that I made this year was to the trade screen a little bit. Things have moved around a little bit, and if you roll over the trading help option here, it will give you instructions on what to do. There's a new option here called Shop Player. And Shop Player, as it says, to find out which teams from the entire league are interested in your player at once, select a player from your list and click the Shop Player button. You will then be able to roll over the Shop Player button and bring up the list of teams that are interested. And a warning that says every time you use this option, the player loses 1 relationship point with your organization. So this is, kind of an attempt at letting the whole, you can always put the player on the trade block by clicking, the block icon. And then once you do that, the player, will be, the AI teams may make an offer to you through your email box at any point in time throughout the season until the trade deadline. There's also the chance that if you do that, the media will find out about it and ask you, to comment on the player being on the trade block, and then, based on your response, the player may have a negative or positive. It can go either way or nothing at all. adjustment in his attitude towards the organization based on your response. But this is an opportunity here to, as opposing to last year, we added the get offer button, which means you could put a player in the trade, and then you could click get offer, and you could see if if they would make an offer. And Charlotte in this case has no offer at this time. So you could do this for every team. There's no penalty or anything to doing it, and it lets you get offers immediately. Well, rather than doing that, you can use the shop offer button or the shop player button, and when I click that, now I'll roll over and it will tell me the teams that are likely to be interested, either because they like the player and can make salaries work in the trade. So a lot of times people ask about either adding more teams to a trade or being able to get offers for multiple players and picks at once and stuff like that. It's very difficult to model the AI to be able to make realistic trade offers back because of the salary implications in trading in pro basketball. So we're doing the best we can with it to make it as easy as possible, but we can't just. It's difficult to just click the button and have like 12 different trade offers or something, because the trade offers not only have to work, but they have to be realistic. So let's see, Boston was on the top of the list, so we can scroll to Boston. Now remember, I don't have to keep clicking the shop player button. Once I've done it once for the player, I can just roll over it and see the list, so I can remember, who's on the list. Because if you keep clicking the button, it will keep taking, personality points away. If I leave the screen and come back, I'll have to do it again. So, you only want to do it when you're like serious about trying to trade somebody. So if I add him to the trade, Boston will make an offer. So they want a second round pick plus him for James Smith, who is a 3.5-star player with 5-star potential. Only 1 year left on his contract. So that's not a bad trade. Philadelphia was also interested. So we can scroll down to them. I'm going to clear the trade because I don't want that pick as part of it. All right, let's see what offer they'll make me. They also want a second round pick, and they'll give me Greg Hayes, 3.5 stars, 3.5 stars, 4 years left on his contract. And pretty solid player, 17.1 points per game. You can always use this as well to compare the ratings for players. If you want to look at that, you can also look at the salary information. So I can see, Greg Hayes is 21.7, 22.6, 22.5, 22.5. So you can get all that data right here. But that's what the shop player option is going to do for you this year. It's going to give you that list of teams that you can go to and get an offer, as opposed to clicking through each team to see which teams will make the offers. There's been 2 other big points of discussion in terms of the First Access Forum. One of them has been the player regression, and that's been a good discussion back and forth. And I'm going to I've made some tweaks here so that when you get the new build later tonight, you can check it out and see what. Oh, look at this guy. He's averaging 43 points. It's only been a couple games, but in the player regression, this guy's crazy. He gets a lot of free throws. Back on the player regression, we're going to tweak it, try to make it a little bit more realistic, so that the really good players, I'm talking like elite players, don't regress as quickly as they have in the past. Really after talking with guys on the forum, they made some very good points. Not only with like a player like LeBron, who's 37 and still like as good as he ever was, and he's kind of a once in a a lifetime player. But a lot of other players, guys like Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Al Horford, stuff like that. They're showing that they're still very high caliber players into their 33, 34, 35 years old. So we're trying to make it so you see more of those players in your leagues going forward, and players hold on to their elite skills for longer periods of time, while still having the majority of players who aren't star players, aren't that great, really have their skills drop off, so that by the time they are 32, 33, 34, they've moved from maybe kind of starter sixth man to really just holding an end of the rotation spot or something like that. So that's going to be a very important change in this new build. As is, we've been focusing on the player shot selection, and one thing that was brought up was that players were being too successful inside on short shots, especially like the point guards and things like that. So we've been working to uh, bring those numbers a little bit more in line, so that we have more players who are shooting a more realistic percentage across the board. So you'll see those things coming in the build. That's hopefully it'll be released maybe an hour or so, hour and a half from now, something like that. Jeannie asks, is there a way to have the computer teams make more offers to you as a human team? There's not a setting for that. There is a setting now if you don't want trades. You can go to the game options page, and you can turn off allowing trades, but there is nothing that's going to increase the amount of trades, because they actually will make the AI does make a pretty decent number of trades during a season, especially at the trading deadline. It's finding the team that can fit both with a fair or reasonable trading offer for talent wise, and the ability to deal with the contract situations, and being able to match salaries as they're supposed to, and things like that. GM Games Chris asks, was there thoughts about making the G League Ignite their own team versus a distribution on other G League teams? There's not, because there's not really a way for the game to handle a team that only plays a handful of games and doesn't act as part of like the actual G League or D League, and what we call it in the game. So that's why they're you know that's why they're distributed like that. Um, I'd love to hear that the inside scoring is being tweaked using some statistics from Basketball Reference. The default rosters are shooting at the rim a higher percentage than MVP seasons from Shaq and Giannis. Yep, that's it was a combination of things that was causing that, but one of them was it's really trying to the scoring needed to be tweaked in other ways. I think making kind of the shots from the elbows and just outside the paint and the blocks and stuff like that, those were a little low. So I was kind of reconfiguring that, and it was being overcompensated for with the short shots. So that is a change that you should see after the next build is released. Kid Coffee Black says he's loving the early access. I'm glad to hear that. I think that the game has really had a number of huge additions this year. We've talked about the personality stuff a lot, the scouting stuff. I'm not going to get to free agency here tonight, but when you go to free agency, there's the whole new free agency meeting system where you have the opportunity to meet with a player, learn about his wants, what he thinks of players on your team, offer him a promise if you want that your team has to work to uphold. Otherwise, he'll want to leave because you broke your promise. So that's a huge addition that we talked about in earlier developer dynasties. And maybe we'll get on here next week and kind of go through the off season in a dynasty and show off some of that stuff. If you want a breakdown, a really good breakdown on the new features, go to our website, wolverinestudios.com, click the blog link, and the first post in the blog list is a breakdown of new features for Pro Basketball 22, and you'll get a really good detailed description on the big ones, as well as kind of hitting on some of the minor things. As I said, First Access has about 2 weeks left in it, so you've got that much time to pre-order. But if you're interested, I would go get it right now. Go get it from our website right now. Get that discount, and you can grab the latest beta tonight when it's released. I'll post it in the forum there with the build notes on it, and you can get in and still make a difference. That's the biggest thing, that the guys who have been doing early access, those posts on the forum about the inside shooting or the player regression, stuff like that, they're making a difference in this version of the game. They're getting things tweaked, they're getting changes made, because they're bringing up great points and things I can look at and change right now before we get to a final launch. So it's an opportunity for you to get in and be part of the game. So go get early access, First Access right now from WolverineStudios.com. That is going to do it for our Developer Dynasty tonight. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of go over some of these new things, get a little bit of additional feedback from people here in the stream. I highly encourage you to go be part of First Access at WolverineStudios.com so that you can get your opinions heard here in the final 2 weeks or so, and see anything maybe that you're looking for to get tweaked or changed. Like even with the depth chart, that was a big tweak that came out of this. So take advantage of that opportunity. Grab the First Access build today at WolverineStudios.com and get playing. The 11.0.2 beta build will be up probably in about an hour, within an hour and a half, I would say. So if you're looking for that, come back then. Otherwise, just keep the feedback coming, keep the ideas coming, keep looking for things that need little tweaks here and there. And as you've seen through the post on the forum, there's absolutely, nothing that I'm not going to consider. And especially when we start talking about numbers being too high, or this doesn't happen frequently enough or something like that, you'll see I'm going to pull data. I'm going to ask you to pull data. We're going to compare notes, compare numbers, and we're going to get things worked to the place that they should be in all of these things. So check it out. Looking forward to hopefully getting some more people in on First Access. Otherwise, if you're just waiting for the launch in a couple weeks, that's cool too. We'll have a free demo you can try then, and you can see all the new cool things in Pro Basketball 22 for yourself. And then the game will be available on Steam at that point in about 2 weeks as well. So thanks everybody for coming by tonight. I'm going to get back to work finishing up the 11.0.2 beta build and get that out to everybody. And we'll be back next week. Like I said, maybe we'll take a look at the off season and kind of go through some of those changes in detail, and let you get a look at something like that if you don't have First Access yourself. So thanks everybody for coming by, and I'll see you next week.